All right, welcome back. It is a Money Monday. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco, coming at you live from the Corona Bunker Studios. Quite the auspicious set of viewers on our social media platform, Facebook. And let me remind you to do us a solid and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube at Liquid Lunch TV. What? And Parler. We recently joined Parler. That's a new app where they don't, take away your First Amendment rights. And I'm still learning how to do it. But Tony Batts is watching, one of the finest golfers around. There's a story out there today. I just want to show you, okay, how the liberal media does things, how they try to trick us, okay? So here's a headline, okay, where it says, from The Hill, where it says, former aide says Trump considered selling Puerto Rico as the territory struggled in Hurricane Maria aftermath. Okay, now that's the headline, okay? Trump considered selling Puerto Rico. Okay, like, first of all, where do you go to sell Puerto Rico? You go to Sotheby's and list it? Like, you get a real estate agent and say, hey, hello, I'd like to list my territory. I'm going to put Puerto Rico for sale. The headlines mislead the public. We're going into an election here. The Democratic Party is so scared right now because Donald Trump's economic policies had the lowest minority unemployment in history, the highest minority home ownership in history, the highest new jobs, new business starts by minorities. So minorities across all races were starting businesses, were buying houses, lowest unemployment in history. What does that mean? The Democratic Party, as Lyndon B. Johnson said in private, the president who was probably one of the most racist presidents of all time, the Democratic Party voted against freeing the slaves. 100% of the Democrats who were in Congress voted against freeing the slaves. 100% of the Democrats in Congress back then voted against giving slaves the right to vote. So riddle me this. How are the Democrats the party of minorities when all their people for years voted against freeing them as slaves and giving them the right to vote? It's like absolutely bizarre, but somehow they have mind-washed us and people in minority communities in inner cities when they say Black Lives Matter. I agree with you. Black Lives Matter. But if you ask me, you know what matters most to Nancy Pelosi and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, the squad? You know what matters to them most? Not necessarily Black Lives. Black Lives Matter, that's a propaganda organization, okay? Black votes matter to the Democrats. And they come around every 4 years knocking on your door saying, hey, we need your votes. We're going to go down to Washington and we're going to fight for you guys. Then they get the votes and then they disappear. And if you notice, the top 10 crime cities in the country are all blue mayors, okay? As I mentioned a little earlier with Fernando Uribe, the top 10 cities in America with the most rat infestations, blue mayors. Most shootings, most gun murders, all Democratic inner city. So tell me, one president is giving immense gains to minority communities. Business starts, home ownership, employment, wages were on the rise, okay? At the same time, the inner cities are corroding. They're literally corroding. And if you look just at the coronavirus outbreak, okay, go to the inner cities, and minorities were affected significantly more per capita than Caucasian folks. And why? Well, number one, the low-income areas have the worst hospitals. Okay, they have the worst healthcare systems. Even under Obamacare, the inner cities have shown no significant increases in access to health care. And, Donald Trump, at no time, and the media is trying very hard. Show me that headline again, Nico. Take a look at this headline. you immediately think, oh no, former aide says Trump considered selling Puerto Rico as a territory. Now, I'm joking around saying, you don't call your local realtor and say, I'd like to put my island for sale. It's a territory of the U.S. What are they trying to do here? Well, if you go into the article and you read through it, this aide who was like the acting Secretary of Homeland Security or something for 4 months, okay, about 3/4 of the way into the story says that, well, he brought it up like, hey, can we outsource the electricity? Is there a way that we can, limit our exposure? And then she goes on to admit, in quotes, that it was never seriously even considered. So the headline says, hey, Latinos, Trump wants to sell Puerto Rico, which would get, I would imagine, a lot of, Puerto Rican folks upset. And I would be upset too if he was trying to sell Staten Island. I mean, we're an island too. All islands matter, for that matter. But Trump never tried to sell Puerto Rico at all. It never happened. His aide, who's quoted in the headline, Trump wants to sell Puerto Rico, this is a way to taint him with the Latino Hispanic community by saying, hey, he might sell Puerto Rico, so we better elect Joe Biden. It never happened. The woman who's quoted in the article actually said herself, it was never even seriously considered, So, and I'm just trying to point this stuff out every day because, as I mentioned before, the cancel culture is crazy. And if Donald Trump is not reelected, a lot more things are going to be canceled, including your bank account, because Joe Biden's tax plan is to bring back the Obama-era tax cuts, completely eliminate the Trump tax cuts. Many, many, many huge companies who were hiding money offshore when Obama was president, when Trump lowered the corporate tax rate to 21%, all those trillions came back to the U.S. And when they came back to the U.S., jobs were created, and then more money was made for U.S. employees, so household incomes went up, and then minority folks started business with that extra money that they were putting in their pocket. And Joe Biden is coming for you, and he's coming for your pocketbook, and it's pretty darn scary. So spread the word. Puerto Rico's not for sale, actually off the market, but we're going to come back in just 1 minute, cover a little markets here, and then hour two, Joe Connor's going to be here, and my favorite part, Jaden Horn and Josh Kravitz are going to be here to mix it up. Quick break, hour two kicks off right after this.